Welcome to Meeples on Meeples, episode 40. I'm Adam.
Andrew.
Patrick.
Ian.
Usual, before we get into our game of the week this week, we'd like to invite you over to our website, meeplesonmeeples.com, as well as our Facebook page, facebook.com/meeplesonmeeples, and our YouTube page where we put up all of our videos every week. You can subscribe over there and be the first to see our video reviews when they go up.
This week's game is Room 25 by Metagot Games, and the neat thing about this, if you've ever seen the movie The Cube, they've actually purposely developed a game that feels a lot like that movie. The object of this game is to get out of the facility alive.
The Cube.
The Cube, yes, the Cube alive. There's 25 markers out, which is room 25. And the object is to get from the center, where every player starts, to room 25, and to make sure that room 25 is in one of the outer three parts of the corners. And if you can do that in a given period of time, you win. At the beginning of the game, everybody is assigned a character. Now, at this time, the characters are all the same for movements. There's no special ability, but your character is associated with a different piece, and they all have different action tiles that match your character card. So that's really what the character cards are used for. Everybody starts in the center, and on your turn, you get to choose two actions. You have to pre-plan your turn. Your choices of action are to push a person into another room, to move into another room, to peek at a room that is next to you, or to move a column of rooms to a different position. It has to be the column that you're standing in.
Yeah, you can shift them so this room ends up down here.
And you'd shift them over as long as you were in one of those rooms in that column. Now, not all the rooms are the same. As you walk into a new room, if you flip it over, and each room is a little bit different. The rooms with the little red corners are dangerous rooms. Rooms with yellow corners are more of a hindrance or a puzzle room, and the rooms with the green corner can help you or are safe rooms. The object is to plan out your moves so that you keep your person safe and get to room 25. There's many different methods of playing or modes of playing. There's just the simple cooperative play where everybody's trying to get to room 25 and get out the same. I do not suggest that. I've played that one. It's fairly boring because you flip a card, you
Save
go,
that
oh,
for the review.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. The other options are a competitive play where everyone's out for themselves, team play where you are paired up with somebody to get them out, and then of course my favorite, which is suspicion play, which two individuals are guards trying to hamper the four contestants that are trying to make their way out. The only thing is you don't know who's a contestant and who is a guard, and you have to play against each other. It's fairly simple game. That's about all the rules. The only thing else is you only have so many turns to get out of room 25 alive, and the mode of play, or the round of play, if I was first, the next round I go to the last person and you just flip them until you get to the end. If you don't get out in time, the game wins. If suspicion play, if the guards kill two contestants, the guards win, and that's about it.
Well, why don't we start with components like we normally do? I think the components in this are actually pretty nice. I like the fact that you do have a little piece that represents your character and looks like your character actually. I think it's just kind of a nice touch. Instead of giving you just a generic meeple, they give you a fairly well-detailed little character.
I think if somebody were to spend some time actually painting them like they should, and that owns the game, it would look a lot nicer.
This is a fairly new game. This just came out, so I haven't had time to really touch it.
I'm sure there's tutorials online, and Pat is not one of them.
Yeah, that's true. That's
It's
true.
also nice that there is the German, in case you read German. No, it doesn't really matter unless you're reading, but each one, it tells you what each card does, what each little piece does when you flip it over, and you can look at your own card.
Each character gets their player mat, which I think we all like.
Right.
But then it also has basically all the important rules you're going to need to know as far as what the rooms do right on your mat.
Yeah. The other thing I like is the cardboard chits are actually very thick cardboard. They're well made. Each person has the chits that are definitely for their character because it has their picture on them. Each person has 4. You have a little character card for your counter over here with your face or your character that looks just like you on it. When you peek at a room, which means you can look at a room next to you, you can place a counter on that room one at a time until it's revealed to remind you that this is either A, a really good room, or B, a really bad room until you get there.
But the backside of this, though, do you really need the picture? They're all the same. Everybody gets the same fold.
It's just to make sure that you split it up.
Yeah,
You know,
you can
that
keep all your
4.
character pieces together.
Well, no, and I understand that, but it's just...
One bonus point, interlocking piece. One.
Yeah.
We like,
what about the rest of it?
well, this one can't interlock because they have to smooth. A lot of the games that we review, and we kind of like these games where you reveal the player mat slowly at a time. The squares or the play mat here are nice, durable cardboard. They have fairly easy to understand visuals that match up with your player mat. Again, well designed, very quick.
Go to your local hardware store, get small strips of magnet, glue them on here, they'll stick together. It'll be amazing.
What does everybody think of the art style on this one?
Simple, I like it.
I like the art style kind of for the characters. The rooms are kind of, I guess, generic for me. I mean, there's not a lot of detail to them.
No, the good thing I like about the rooms is each room is definitively different. I mean, they just look different. So you can't say, well, is this a safe room or is it not a safe room? I like the fact
and for those Marvel fans, there's actually a Ghost Rider room.
Okay.
The instant death
mortal room, the instant death room
is a flaming skull. So
yeah, I will agree with Pat though. Like each piece, no matter what it is, you can look and say this one's different than this one. You just have to know what they are, and you actually pick up on what they are fairly quickly, to where you don't have to look at them at all the time.
How about strategy on this one?
It's strategy. We played the suspicion mode, and it was actually really difficult. It was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be playing suspicion mode because we didn't know the guards. The first time that we played it, it was pretty much a bloodbath, paranoia. People were killing each other left and right.
One of the players did not realize that we weren't just trying to kill everybody else on the map.
That's right. They made a century and he was icing everybody, even his fellow competitors. But when the guards were hiding and you didn't know who they were until the very last turn, everybody was near room 25 and one of the guards got in there and moved it. Move the entire line, and you're like, "Oh crap, we're screwed now." That was a unique way to play the guards.
Yeah, I think I didn't actually play as the guards, but kind of watching how it played out, I think it worked well for the guards to kind of just lay back, not really let on to a lot, kind of play along with everybody else, and then when Room 25 came out, just really go after it.
Yeah, there's really no other way to do that. If you show yourself too early, then
everyone will kill you.
It could make it a different experience, though. I mean, it can be a real. Quick action game that way.
Everybody runs into you. I mean,
I had no strategy.
Really read what the rooms do to you. I mean, because a lot of them you don't get injured right away into it, so you can utilize the room even though it's going to be a negative. I know I went into the ocean room. I don't know what is it. Locked.
Yeah,
the flood chamber.
Yeah,
the flood chamber, but it really didn't affect me until the end of my next turn. So I mean, I could look at the next room, I could plan ahead, and I was safe because nobody else could go in there.
Yeah. Or you could do one of the other players did is reveal a really bad room and then push another guy into it, and kind of off him that way.
So that's how I got offed.
Yeah. you can do that. I played with another group when I first got this is to try it out, and boy, they were paranoid sons of guns. They were axing everybody off left and right, and that can get very interesting. The other modes of playing also change the flavor, which is if you get tired of the suspicion play, you can play team play where you're teamed up with another character, and the goal is to get both of your characters out before anybody else does. So you can change flavors in the game if you just don't want to do the suspicion mode.
Well, you can change flavors by even just changing up the rooms, and you can choose what you want.
Yeah, there's more than 25 rooms that come with it, which is really good. I believe there's 30 some rooms that come with it. So you don't always play the same rooms all the time. You can shift them out. You can make it hard. You can make it easier.
If you really like to live on the edge, you can put out 3 of the two of the mortal chambers, which are the instant death rooms.
You walk into it and you're gone, and that makes you live on the edge. Everyone's a little more cautious.
How about likes and dislikes on this one?
I'll start with likes. I like it was fast. It was an under 30-minute game. I mean, we pumped these out very quick, and I just like the overall theme, the overall play with it, the fact that you had to choose your options before you went, and you kind of had to guess what everybody else was and what they were doing. I kind of liked the play. The dislikes, I wish that each character, something in the future, it'd be kind of nice to have if each of the characters could have a different ability.
Mm-hmm.
I think that changed the flavor up a little bit.
I agree.
Yeah, to where you have an ability or an attribute over somebody else, because otherwise, right now, you could be red. Yeah. You could be blue. It doesn't really matter what you are, so having this fancy little character doesn't mean anything.
If you could have the scientist be able to use one of the rooms, like the acid bathroom, to be able to do something special in that room, that'd be kind of a nice feature too.
I also like the names: the bimbo, the scientist, the colossus, the little girl, the dude, the nerd.
Colossus.
I did also feel that I just like that the board was so big. Even with 6 players, it felt like we were very spread out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, you can push somebody or you can do this, and you can only move one tile at a time. So even if you're just following somebody, you're never really interacting that much with the other players. You're more or less just moving them around, trying to get them close, and
we didn't even.
It didn't feel like there was that much interaction with everybody in the same room.
And we didn't even reveal the exit that game until like the second to the last move.
Yeah.
I mean, and we were exploring pretty well, but with 6 people,
we played that second game really cautious. The first game went a lot faster because there was a lot more player interaction, and we were trying to kill each other off and following each other.
Well, I want to
being so fast paced, I figured there'd be more interaction between the characters.
Oh, I do want to jump back to one thing about the strategy, and I know we don't want to skip back too far, but if you play the first move, if you always have your second move as if you're around people as a push, then you have a defensive strategy. That's kind of like your default defensive strategy is do whatever you want with your first move. If you're around anybody else, put a push move as your secondary move, because if basically nobody else is in your square, if they move into it, if something happens, you have that push on your second move. That's just your only defensive strategy you have in the game, really.
Let's go on to our reviews here. We do a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being great, 1 being terrible, of course, 5 being just a game. Andrew?
I'm actually going to go with a 6. Normally, I like games. I mean, it has decent art. The pieces are good.
Like games.
But normally, like games that, you can play in a half hours. They're fun. You can throw them out. This didn't do it for me. I mean, there's no attributes for the guys. It just felt like it was lack. Like, it seems like a good concept, but it could have been just that little bit more. And it just fell at a 6 for me.
I'm going to go at a 7, a little bit higher. A lot of the same complaints that Andrew has. It's kind of... Every character is interchangeable. Like you said, you could be red, you could be yellow. It really doesn't matter who you are without any attributes. What I did like about it, like we already mentioned, I like the player mats. I like the fact that it was easy to pick up and play. The rules really aren't that complicated. I think the setting up rules are more complicated than any of the actual playing rules that you have to go by. And the fact that everything is laid out for you on your player mat. What the rooms do, how many actions you have, that type of stuff. It's one of those games, again, where you don't have to go back to the rule book. Once you learn it, we played through 2 games in probably under an hour, I think. So it's a quick playing game. It could just use maybe a little more attributes for your characters, something that would get maybe the player interaction a little bit higher and just make it a little bit of better. Maybe a little bit of a story for it, or more than the story that's already there. Might help it, but it's just a 7 for me otherwise.
I've played it with a couple different groups. I'm going to score a little bit higher than you. I'm going to score it about an 8.
Because you bought it?
No, I played with this. I played with several different flavors.
Owner bought.
No, so I played with several different players and things like that. I like it. It has a little bit of a feel of the Panic Station, with the little bit of Area 57 trying to get out alive to do with it. So it's kind of a good mixture where both of those kind of failed or not failed, but were weak in some places. I think this has tightened those pieces up. Was Area 57? Is that the one we were trying to get out alive?
Level 7.
Level 7. I'm sorry. Level 7. I'm sorry. Level 7. I knew I was saying that wrong. With level 7, there's parts of it I didn't play well. It was kind of clunky. With a Panic Station, it was some of the rules weren't as clear. This kind of matches both those, goes up and kind of clears it out a little bit more. I like the pieces with it, and I also like the way that there's several different methods or scenarios that you can play with. So you can always change it up with each new play, so no play will ever be exactly the same. So it was something with good replayability, so I give it an 8.
I'm going to go down with a 6 with Andrew. I land there because I probably wouldn't buy the game. I give like a 7. I might actually give a shot at but it was just mediocre fun. And I think that the different revisions of the game doesn't make it any better. It makes it just easier to do. I mean, I know you can go co-op, but you know who you are, kind of thing. I mean, other characters kind of know who they are, and then you just go after them. There is some screwage to the game, but with the limited amount of moves that you can do and the types of moves you can do, there's no guns, there's no ammunition, there's no secondary creatures on the map like a Panic Station, which has more of that feature, and I prefer more of that game than I do to this one, even though the rule set may be a little weird in some of the revisions or whatever, but it still had a lot more to it that I enjoyed over this game.
That's our review of Room 25. Check us out next week when we'll be reviewing Kings of Tokyo.
See you then.